So I think, yes, food is like the biggest, breaker of all kinds of boundaries and fences and anything else that you may come with. It's the best way to, but I don't think I ever had time for myself in the initial phases of my life. Even while I worked, I was so engrossed in working that I never even thought about self-care. At the end of the day, it's like if you are the most amazing person in the world, but your manners suck, and you're not a kind-hearted person, I think it's of no use. I loved that time. I loved it. It was so special. And, each and every one of us were friends.
Yeah.
More than being colleagues, we were friends. We actually enjoyed each other's company. If you feel good on the inside, it's a great thing. If you can go to sleep peacefully, sleep for 7-8 hours blissfully, I think it's a great thing.
Hi, this is Yashika. You're listening to Voice of Achievers, and this is our special Wonderwomen Series. Our guest today is Maria Goretti Warsi. Maria is a celebrity chef, an author, and a TV presenter. If you've lived through the 90's, the MTV's, and the Channel V's, you'll really remember her. She's been the author of To the Moon and Back, and From My Kitchen to Yours. We discuss food being a cultural connector. We discuss modern day parenting, and we also discuss women and self-care. So let's dive right in.
Welcome to the show, Maria. So happy to have you.
Thank you so much. So happy to be here.
Food is such a conversation starter, Maria. It's an icebreaker, it's a relationship builder. You are a passionate celebrity chef. Talk to us about the role of food in connecting people, in fostering cultural understanding, especially in the workplace settings.
So I have to start off by telling you that I was never somebody who knew how to cook. So in the past, whilst I worked, I knew which places I wanted to eat at. So I would reach with the agenda of I have to do that work. That was what I was there for. But I needed to eat here. So it was always, I always had this deep love for good food. I'm somebody who enjoys a meal. And I really feel a good meal always puts anybody and everybody in a good place. I think discovered the fact that I enjoy cooking, or rather creating the food that I make, much later in life. And I really realized also that it was just the most wonderful way to connect with people. Sometimes I realized that all of us have our own ways to express love. I think mine is food and writing.
Okay.
I feel that's how I express love. Sometimes, of course, I go crazy and I'm very tactile and I want to smash my kids, and they don't want to be smashed any longer. But I think food is something that is such a it's such a universal language. It's like music. You don't have to know a language to appreciate it. Right. Just like you don't need to know all the cuisines in the world to appreciate it. It's, I must tell you this little incident. When I was studying in 2018 in Paris, my friend Hema, who's vegetarian, one day told me, she said, let's go for Ethiopian food. So I was like, no, I don't know. I'm not sure of this. I'm like, when in doubt, I go search for burgers. I'm that kind of a person. Okay. I'm like, oh, where do I go? Let's search for the best, juiciest burger. Let's go and eat that. And she was like, no, you have to try this. So after staying there for about, I think we were there in 3 weeks, and we were doing our pastry. So we were always eating sweet, or when we went out, the food was not, it's not an Indian palate. Yeah. And I remember tasting Ethiopian food for the first time. And when my thali came to me, I looked at it and it looked just like an Indian thali. It had this big roti which is called injera, and it had whatever. So if you had a non-veg thali, it had a mix of vegetables and non-vegetarian food. And if you had a vegetarian thali, then it had lots of vegetables. I promise you, it looked exactly like what you get back here in
Yeah,
India.
the injera is pretty much like the chilla, you know. I mean, it
Yeah.
just, that's the
Yeah,
feeling it gave me.
but it's fermented.
Yeah.
But when you take a bite of that food, I realized that it looks the same, but it was absolutely different. And there were these different flavors bursting in your mouth. So you'd eat a dal and you, in your head, you know what dal tastes like, you know, and you'd eat it and you're like, oh my God, it is nothing like what you know.
Yeah.
So that's what I love about food. It's like, it's so interesting and there's so much to learn about everything that you're never done with it. You're never done with the process, no matter how much you learn. And I love learning. I love learning about new things. I think I've got a very curious, insatiable mind.
Yeah.
And I love learning. And the more I learn, the more I feel I don't know enough. So I'm constantly learning.
You know, this is funny because, you know, when we are, I remember the times that we are in, you know, it's your first time job and you're trying to figure out who is it that you must talk to, or how do you break the ice and get more familiar, more comfortable in the environment that you are. And I feel that what's in your dabba, or, you know, do you want to share what's in my dabba, is such a conversation starter and such a wonderful beginning to a relationship, as opposed to saying, Acha, where do you come from and blah, blah, blah. Don't you think so?
So I'll tell you, I never ever worked in a setup where I had to take a dabba because I always worked in entertainment. I just fell into it and it just flourished on. I mean, I would say I'm really, really blessed, and I got into it most organically. So we never carried dabbas, but while we were getting on to shoot, we'd be calling one another saying, what are we eating today? What are we eating today? Oh, let's do a misal pav from here. Then let's do a pizza from there.
Yeah.
Okay, and then let's go for thali there. So
Yeah.
that was me. So that I never ever carried the quintessential dabba.
Dabba.
But I remember for as long as we were all together at MTV, our big thing was that we need to eat even the food that was served to us by, you know, in our dabbas, which used to come to shoot. But on the side, we'd be saying, okay, I ate there that day, and why, let's try this today. And we would constantly be eating together besides shooting in a studio. So I think, yes, food is like the biggest, you know, breaker of all kinds of boundaries and fences and anything else that you may come with. You know, it's the best way to make friends.
And the fact that you say it, you know, the way that you say it, that I wasn't interested, even remotely interested in cooking, and then suddenly you're this chef who's, you know, by the day I see those videos and you're like, the lamb is sitting and nicely warming up to blah blah blah, and I'm like, my God, is she like even making it, or is she talking to me about it? I'm a vegetarian, but maybe I must have this lamb now. But you know, we are in a time and age, Maria, where, or in a day and age where most of us are subject to being in the radar. Be it social media, be it, you know, your content creation, creative pursuits, the way that we say it. How do you protect what's yours, or what's your own style? And, you know, there are some things maybe you want to protect from the public eye. You've been in the public eye throughout.
Yeah, so fortunately I was in the public eye when all you had to do is go shoot and come back home, and you didn't have to post anything or talk about it anywhere, and you don't have to do any of that. So I think we had very protected private lives.
Yeah.
As in, nobody knew what was happening unless people were gossiping about you, which half the time gossip is gossip. I never ever believe gossip, and I hate indulging in it. I just feel you have to live and let live. And I don't think you don't have the onus of talking about other people. I somehow don't enjoy gossip. So
Yeah.
I've never someone who ever read gossip magazines and kind of adhere to that part. But today I feel that everything is in your hands. You put out as much as you want to. Okay, so actually it is in your control. If you don't want to talk about yourself personally, you don't need to. if you don't want to put out something about what you're doing every day you could be probably, sitting and gardening, but if you don't want to put it out, you don't need to.
Yeah.
So I think today social media is a tool that can be used the way you want to. I don't want to talk about what my kids are doing and what my parents are doing and what I'm doing. I don't have to. I can just post a food video and engage with everybody out there through food and keep it at that and give you no information about me whatsoever. So I think what I feel is today, all of us are in charge of what we're putting out there, and I think it's the best way. And
So you
today
draw
what's-
your own line.
yeah, so I think what I feel is that today, if I want to clarify something, supposing there is something said about me which is untrue, now I have the option of getting on social media and saying, I'm sorry, but this is not true. As opposed to in the past where a magazine or a newspaper could write anything about you and you were just at your wit's end saying, what? I didn't say that. And there was no place to say it. Today, if you're misquoted, you immediately can get on and say, excuse me, I had this interview with you, but I never said this. And so I'm sorry, but this is wrong. So I think social media lets you do that.
Yeah.
Having said that, I feel our children who grew up in this 2 years of COVID and were sitting behind their screens and were only talking to each other via Zoom links and WhatsApp calls and Insta calls, and I don't know the other I don't know all social media platforms present, but I feel that they kind of some of them, I would say, feel pressure to put everything that they are doing out there, which is not necessary. I think it's dangerous. And I keep talking to my children about this and they laugh at me and say, oh my God, you're so old fashioned. But so it's different perspective. I grew up in a time where we did our work, we went home, and that's about that. So what people saw was your work, and they liked it or they disliked it. That's about it. Today, a lot of it is about what you're doing to get the followers that you have, and the amount of followers are basically giving you, your validation. Somehow, I am not able to indulge in that. Yeah. So for me, I feel okay. Today, I'm on social media because that's the platform available.
Correct.
But there must be 10,000 people who are better than me, who may not be having as many followers than me, and I may be better than 10,000 other people, and I may not have their following. But that does not mean that you as a person or me as a person is not fantastic just as we are.
What about AI and technology? We are in a space where, I often remember that scene from Robo where, Chitty is actually making that dish for her and all of that. Do you ever fear that a Robo may replace all that's creative?
See, I think artificial intelligence can only give you as much as you feed it. So if you put all your information in it, they can give you as much. They can put that information in the most beautiful manner and make a new essay out of it, or make a separate presentation that you may not be able to do as beautifully. But I still think that the creative mind is so vast, that I feel that as humans, if you actually sit down and put enough of thought in it, I think will be fine. Having said that, I think artificial intelligence helps us in a whole lot of things. It has just brought medicine to another level. And I think we need it in our lives.
Maria, now, I'm going to try and talk about us as women. This is our Wonderwomen series. And from the time that you've been in the industry for over almost 3 decades now, 2 decades now. And we are in a day and age today where, women are at the fore and doing just multiple things, yet they are doing multiple things, and maybe there is a lack of priority with respect to self-care. Talk to us about, overdoing it maybe as women, or how should one actually prioritize self-care as a woman?
This is very, very interesting. So self-care is something that I don't think any of us even thought of. I never even thought of self-care, say 20 years ago. I was in the middle of raising my children, and if I could sit in the night and comb my hair and read a newspaper, I always read the news in the night.
Yeah.
Because that's when my kids went to sleep, and then I would open the newspaper. Today, thankfully, you get everything online, and you have updates online, so you at least you're abreast with everything happening. But I don't think I ever had time for myself in the initial phases of my life. Even while I worked, I was so engrossed in working that I never even thought about self-care.
Hmm.
I think I would say that for me, self-care, I would say, started during the pandemic. It's during the pandemic that I actually realized that there are so many things that I have not even looked into.
Yeah.
And and the thing is, if you don't, and it just piles somewhere under a carpet, after some time, you can see it and you can smell it, and you have to kind of look into it. So I realized that I needed a lot of, I would say, balance.
Hmm.
I needed to prioritize a little time for myself. I'm somebody who likes to be around my kids. So now, of course, they're teens. So now I've realized that whether I like it or not, I have time to myself. So it's different, but I've realized that over the past, I would say from 2011 onwards, I kind of slowly got into prioritizing what I wanted. And I would try and do it as cleanly as possible.
Yeah.
And I think it started off with me going back to school to learn food. And I realized that I wanted to do this, and it made me happy. And it's like I had this burning desire to do it. And I found my way to go away and do it. And I think for me, writing is self-care.
Yeah.
It's so cathartic. I'm not a very big, I would say, beauty person. So I'm not somebody who has this let's do a beauty routine kind of person.
Yeah.
But I like looking after my insides. So once in a year, I like to do an Ayurveda cleanse. I think that makes me feel awesome. I like to do some amount of, I would say, mental care. So for me, these things are important. And I found a way to do this in the middle of everything. For me, when I get away and I get into nature, I'm able to kind of, put everything back in balance. I'm able to come back to zero and start again. So I think all of us have different ways in which in what we think is self-care. These are mine.
What does criticism affect you?
Of course it does. Of course.
You've been in the public eye for, I mean, as long as I can remember.
But none of us like to be told you're terrible, you're horrible, you don't know your work. Of course, I don't let it go into me. I kind of look at it and say, okay, then I feel maybe they're having a bad day, or maybe they're trying to sort some stuff in their life and they need to push this out, and I let it go. But yes, when you read it for the first time, you're like, what? Why? So yes, of course it does. But the thing is, I think how I see it is that I kind of I look at it twice or thrice. Somebody says something, I actually look at it twice or thrice, And if it's a friend and I want to keep them, then I will tell them that this hurt me. If it's somebody that I don't care about, I just let it go and leave it. I'm like, okay, that's what you think, and your opinion is fine, but it is not me, so it's fine.
Yeah, wonderful. You spoke about, parenting, and you spoke about raising your two wonderful boys.
Girl,
Talk
girl and boy.
girl and boy, sorry. Talk to us about modern day parenting, Maria, and especially as working professionals, there'll be multiple things that you know both the parents are doing and trying to keep up with. Also, that self satisfaction of raising their children. What would you definitely do, and what would you never compromise on as parents?
I tell you, I think being a parent is the most difficult thing in the world. And there are no right answers and there are no wrong answers. I'm just struggling and learning every day. And I've not found a path that actually works. So I have no advice to give other parents. I think all of us have to kind of find our way. It's like every day you're facing something new, and every day you're trying to deal with it, and every day you're trying to just put it together and go to sleep peacefully and then wake up and figure the next day. But I think for me, my kids' safety is very, very important to me.
Yeah.
And I think how they feel on the insides is very important to me. So now that they're both teens, my daughter is 16, my son is going to be 19 next month. That's most of the times I really get upset with them about things to do with safety. It's like if I don't know where they are, it drives me crazy. It's like, I've got to know where you are. I've got to know that you're safe. So that is, their safety is of prime importance to me. And I also, the other thing is that good manners.
Yeah.
I think good manners is really, really, really important. At the end of the day, it's like if you are the most amazing person in the world, but your manners suck, and you're not a kind-hearted person, I think it's of no use. So I keep saying this to them, and hopefully when they go out, all this stays inside their head. And I that's all I want actually for them as a parent. For them to be fine on the inside. I always tell them, I said, don't let people treat you badly. Stand up for yourself. And I need to know where you are. And you need to be kind, and you need to be well-mannered. So, I mean, as a parent, that's all I can do. And just hope that everything that I've tried past 16 and 19 years has somewhere gone into a little box and will stay with them.
How wonderful is that? Maria, each time I speak to you, I'm always reminded of those days. I was I was, sort of growing up in the 90s. And that was such a beautiful time. I mean, of course, 90s nostalgia is now a thing.
Yeah.
And it was such a beautiful time because, well, we grew up in it. It was the time of the MTVs and the Channel Vs, of very little of pop culture that we could see today. Korean lit and Korean dramas are pop culture. But if there's one thing that you'd want to bring back from those times, what would that be? From your times with Cyrus and
Oh my God,
those days, a mini, so many. I remember all of y'all were
I mean, it was so, I would say that was, oh my God, if I could go back to one bit in my life, it would be to all of us shooting the New Year special together.
Yeah.
Just all of us together in one studio, or we'd go to one kind of place and we would all be working with each other the whole day. I loved that time. I loved it. It was so special. And, each and every one of us were friends.
Yeah.
More than being colleagues, we were friends. We actually enjoyed each other's company. So I think that is really special, to just have that.
Was it less competitive as opposed to maybe?
I think it was. I think it was. I also think it was because we all had our space. You know, each of us had our own space. So there was no one that we were, there was no, oh, I need to be in this place and that person is taken. There was no such thing. You know, we all had our own shows. We all had our own image, which came out of what we truly are. And it was wonderful.
And anything funny that you recollect from one
Oh
of
my
those?
God. Most of the times we used to be trying to finish work fast, and Cyrus would be talking more than working like he does, and he would want to go home first, but we would all be waiting for him to finish so that we could continue shooting. It was mayhem. I can't even name one something. It was just mayhem, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful chaos.
Lovely. What does achievement mean to you, Maria?
Peace. Peace. If I can go to sleep every night peacefully, it's a wonderful achievement. It's a wonderful achievement. And I think I have learned that.
What's the one thing that you would do to achieve peace?
Heal myself. Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah. So, you know, it's like all of us do all kinds of everything, but I think at the end of the day, when you're left with yourself, if you feel good on the inside, it's a great thing. If you can go to sleep peacefully, sleep for 7-8 hours blissfully, I think it's a great thing. Everything else.
So wonderful. Thank you for spreading the joy, for spreading the smiles, and for spreading those aromas. May they continue. Lovely having you, and to more Wonder Women like you, Maria. Thank you for being on the show.
So much. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much, Yashika. Thank you.